Oh, crap.
All right, Steve, we are live, and Steve had sent me an email by a sister or a brother saying, "Hey, why don't you talk to that Scott guy again?" And he forwarded it to me, and I was like, "Yeah, let's do something sort of like a state of affairs with everything going on
I
in
haven't
the
even had a
world
chance to
right
get
now."
back to her on that email. I need to respond to her about that. So I'm terrible with emails. We were so far behind. I've been so busy lately. But yes, yeah, this all came from one email. And you know, Scott, I got to tell you, I've been praying about this, and my life has been a whirlwind the last 3 months. We've just been so busy. We moved to a new home. We downsized and building offices in my office and recording studio in my garage, which is where I'm at right now, and just been busy. I haven't been able to keep up with what's going on in the world. It's only because of people contacting me. Did you see this? Did you see that? And so today, I specifically did my best to just focus on what's going on in the world. What in the world? There is so much. I mean, my jaw was dropping, on different things, and I have to say, I think this should be more focused on like high watch for Ninth of Av, you know, because there's just so much going on. I'm sorry, I completely robbed what you're doing here. Forgive me.
No,
Go ahead.
no, no. This is that's again, man. I don't have anything I'm doing. You ought to know me by now. I just get on and talk with people, and we Bible trail around. And so, you
Well,
what jumped out at you the most since you've been so busy that has your attention as you like to say it in a current understanding as you're watching events and comparing them to biblical prophecy.
yeah, yeah. Well, okay. I don't know if you've seen my last two prophecy teachings I've done. I'm really, this is a season I'm really watching right now. Okay. Especially leading up to the fifth day of the sixth month. Okay. And, and in those teachings, the last two I made, I talk about the fast of the fourth month and the fast of the fifth month, how we should be, mindful of this can be a trigger leading up to. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be on those days, but those days could be what, fire people up all the more. But the Temple Institute just released a video this last week, and I wrote some quotes down from what they said in the video. And Lord willing, I can find a link for this too. Um, right around almost the 14-minute mark, they said how Israel is back in the land and has sovereignty over the Temple Mount. Simply mourning isn't enough, because he was talking about the fasts, okay? The fast of the fifth month. It's something I've said, how I got multiple teachings on this very topic itself. How one day these fasts are going to be turned into feasts. He talks about it. This is the leader of the Temple Institute saying it's time for these fasts to be turned to joyful Moedim as prophesied in the prophets. And I'm watching this, I'm going, he's saying what I have been saying is going to happen. And now, will it happen this year? Well, now maybe not. In fact, I don't have the exact quote. It's a long video, and I watch everything at 2x because I can't watch myself at single speed. I got to watch at 2x. I'm boring in my opinion, but I watch everything at 2x. So, and this is like a 30-minute video, so even at 2x, it's still 15 minutes, which is dragged out for me. But somewhere in it, he had mentioned how, it's like, it's time. It's time to make these fasts into the feasts. And he said, when the temple is up, these will be turned into feast days. So he made a declaration in his understanding, the temple has to be up first and then it will be. Where my understanding has always been like the mere process of them starting to build it could be what turns it around. But I'm sorry, I got so many notes here. I'm trying to bring it out, and now I'm just jumbling over thoughts. So forgive me.
That's
He had made
okay.
a point that, and again, I'm just not even going to look at my notes at this point because I'm going to get lost in them. He said how, we've been doing all this and getting it ready. Well, now it's time to, to start working on it. Well, there's only one thing in their mind that's keeping them from working on it. And that's the red heifer sacrifice, because they believe the red heifer sacrifice has to be done before they can do it. Now, my opinion, when looking at the scriptures, that's not needed for that. It's needed for something else. It's all a part of it, don't get me wrong, but it's not needed to start building the temple. But it is their opinion. And so
Not to
because Go ahead.
I was going to say, not to mention that this is another example of, because of their vain traditions, because of their add-ons.
Mm-hmm,
Scripture
mm-hmm.
doesn't say anything other than an unblemished red heifer. There's nothing in there about it can't have 2 black hairs or 3
I
white
know.
hairs.
Yeah.
But I can see how Yah is using their vain traditions of men to
Mm-hmm.
prevent them from doing this until it's his time. In other words,
Yes.
they will not do this until Yah says, okay, if you want to do some abominations, go ahead and do some abominations. And I appreciate Steve, because Steve, myself, and I don't really know of too many other people that actually believe that the sacrifices are going to be abominations, that
Oh.
even a grain offering is like pig's blood on the altar. And
Mm-hmm.
do you know of anyone else that holds to that understanding? Are we like these 2
Yeah.
lonely sheep out in the wilderness?
I don't know. I'm sure there is several others out there, but if you're watching this right now and that challenges you, please, please, I beg you, I have a teaching I just put out a few months ago called The Abomination of Desolation. You need to watch it. And it discusses why the sacrificial system in itself will be the abomination of desolation. It will be what Yahweh calls the abomination. Yeshua references
Well,
it as.
and you have an example. Obviously, right now they don't have the temple, they don't have the sacrifices.
But you
So
don't need that. You don't need the
I,
temple for
I
doing
agree.
sacrifices. Okay.
You just have to
It's
have an
just the
altar.
altar. There you go. Right.
And the point I was about to make is, and you made this point, that you believe when the ark comes out that it's going to be an idol, sort of like the just like the bronze serpent was turned into an idol. But I mean, right now, the Western Wall is an idol.
In
People,
essence, it is.
it's 100% an idol of Judaism, just like a lot of what Rome. I like to beat up on both sisters, just like Roman Catholicism. She has her idols out the yin yang, but both of these harlot sisters have not changed ever since
Right.
Ezekiel 23. And so
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to be called an anti-Semite without being also labeled an anti-Roman Catholic at the same time. So,
Well, it doesn't take much to be called an anti-Semite these days, especially. You show any kind of resistance, you oppose what they're doing in Gaza, well, all of a sudden you're an anti-Semite, or you oppose this, and that's getting bad. Things are getting all around the world, and that goes into so many other elements that we can talk about. How we could be nearing the end times closer than what we even think. But
well,
back to the 9th of Av. Oh, go ahead. You say something, bud.
no, I was just going to say that what I am seeing, especially in the Hebrew uprooter community, I'm actually seeing Jew hatred. No, I'm seeing people hate on people just because they say they're Jews or they are Jews. I don't care. I don't care about their DNA. I mean, I don't give a.
But let's backtrack. We are not anti-Semite. Okay.
No.
But people will try to say that we are. And I know good people who simply oppose what Israel is doing, but they're not anti-Jewish at all. And it's sad that it's come to that, that you just show any kind of opposition of any way, that you're the bad guy all of a sudden, and for what it's worth, again, looking today, because forgive me, I guess I've just had my nose in the books and not looking around enough, but there's just the world opinion of Israel right now is tanking. Okay. Because of what's going on in Gaza, especially. And I don't even know all that's going on in Gaza. I haven't been reading it, looking at it, watching it. I don't trust any news source anymore. Even the quote good ones. I don't know, I'm not saying they're all wrong. I'm not saying these are right. These are the bad guys. I'm not saying that because I don't know. I've had some good friends who've been over in Israel and can say, Steve, this isn't what's going on. This is what's going on. And then I have other good friends saying the exact opposite, So I think it's all going to be depending upon what view you want to see things, what lens you want to look through. And my concern, though, in all of it, everything is boiling down to, I think we're sprinting to the end days right now with what I'm seeing going on. Now, okay, I know I had some notes like this because, forgive me 1 second. I know that we have heard for decades, since I was a kid, we're in the end times. Yeshua, well, that's Jesus, in my opinion. Back then, they would say he can come anytime. Okay, we've been hearing the last days thing for the pitch for all these years. Okay, and I'm 56 now, so we're talking at least that's what I've known. Okay, these last 50 years, I can remember hearing anytime. This is it. And yeah, there were some interesting things going on back then, but nothing what we're seeing today. So why should anybody listen to us today when this has been, screamed out for all these years, and here we are still today, nothing going on? Go ahead.
The answer to your question is, I've believed since I was a kid in Yah's 7-day redemptive plan, and I told people in the 90s, 2000s, 2014, 2017, no, we're not close yet. We've still got 30-ish years. We've still got those. So that's been my answer for quite some time. I argued with my dad because, to your point, in the 70s, you had Menachem Begin making peace treaties with Henry Kissinger, a Jew, over in the Middle East, and the first Arab/Egyptian Israeli peace treaty in the 70s. So this got really off the charts in the 70s after the 67 war, the 73 Yom Kippurim war, the peace deal with Israel. But to your point, nothing, all the other pieces or the dominoes were not totally stacked up. And now we've got the Genius Act that just was passed into law. I believe that's totally a Trojan horse to come in for cryptocurrency, blockchain.
You said Genius Act. What is that?
It's called the Genius Act. It's essentially a bill, and I haven't studied a lot on it, but it's going to be regulating cryptocurrency. Trump is now supporting that. He wants America to be the king of cryptocurrency. And so, again, I can just see that. I was just talking to a client of mine. How could John in Revelation look to a point in time in the future in which there would be a system in place, technology in place? Because Satan is not omniscient. He's not omnipresent. He's going to have to rely upon technology to do this, in which all financial transactions to be legal are going to be controlled through AI, through quantum computing, through these laws that are we're now starting to see them, come online. And I just believe the foundation is there. It's just a matter of when.
Right. Yeah. No, it's like that. The beast system isn't coming. It's here, before we start fast forwarding into what I would call modern day reasons, if we can go back to biblical day reasons. Okay. And I was watching, I didn't know any, again, I'm just stupid on all this kind of stuff, Did you know that in the West Bank right now, and maybe elsewhere, what I saw was in the West Bank, they're putting Third Temple flags up all over. Did you know about this? Okay, I didn't know anything about this.
Yeah, supposedly they're putting direction signs up and putting in a rail system, and it's just a matter of when.
Yeah, well, I'm just going, and I don't know if you heard this just today, Israel voted they're saying they've got the right to the West Bank. Okay, so this is huge. And I don't think people are understanding why this is huge. And I've said this a couple of different times, I'm sure, in our interviews or wherever else. But they've got to take claim to that West Bank. Why? Okay, now I know there's all these opinions of where the ark is. Okay, I get it. For what it's worth, I am a staunch proponent of the Copper Scroll Project, Jim Barfield, all his team, okay, of saying that it is in Qumran, okay? And you can go to copperscrollproject.com. You can see all that they've got there and see it. But to my understanding, it's either there still or they've already gotten it out of there already. Okay, I don't know. But Israel has to take claim to that land and say it's theirs. The second they do that, which they've already, I don't know what the process is with their judicial system, but they took the vote, and from what I was looking at, they're saying it's ours. Okay, the whole West Bank. Now, when does it take effect? I don't know. I didn't get to get into all the red tape of all that. But the point being is, though, because if that's where the ark is, like I really think Jim's right on, the second they have claim to that area, then whatever comes out of that area is what? It's theirs. Okay? So, but that's huge for them to be saying this. And yeah, I get it. All these things can happen without the ark. Okay, but I do believe the ark will come out, and it will play an absolute major role in ramrodding all of their agenda fast forward, super fast forward to get it going. And yes, I'm watching the 9th of Av coming up. Does something have to happen on the 9th of Av? No. In fact, I really believe with what's given in Ezekiel regarding the 5th day of the 6th month, that is when the invasion takes place. Now, and if you go to Ezekiel 4, it talks about how they're surrounded first. The siege takes place. We aren't told how long that siege takes place. It's an assumption on my part and many others to say it begins on the 9th of Av, and then that siege lasts all the way up to the 5th day of the 6th month. Can it happen that way? Yes. I believe it's very, very, very plausible. But it doesn't have to be.
It could be staged. It could. Let's again. I believe that the sacrifices will start up around Passover, and we have modern military right now. Not saying that missiles can't start flying immediately, but as far as a sure enough invasion, you've got logistics involved. You have to train. You have to get troops from Turkey or from Afghanistan or from Kazakhstan or from these nations in order to stage them for an invasion. In other words, it won't just happen. Now, missiles can happen immediately, but as far as an invasion, literally where the nation state of Israel gets invaded, that would take a preparation time. And again, I never had even thought about that, but you could probably mobilize modern day armies and get them staged within a 5 or 6 month period.
You could do faster than that when you consider they're already there. Okay, because you've already got these nations surrounding Israel. They're all on top of them. When you count how close Egypt is, Jordan is, they're all right there.
Turkey's in Syria right now.
Yeah, yeah. They're mobilizing now already, and they've been doing that over these last 2.5 years, getting troops in position. So that's why I'm thinking it can't just be 2 weeks that they're surrounded. It's going to be, and then the siege happens. I'm sorry, the invasion happens. So for me, the 9th of Av fits the best, because then you got a good 3 to 4 weeks, and then they're ready. And so I don't know, but when I look at what's going on with this Third Temple stuff, the Temple Institute, they're driving this, and it's low key, but man, it's big. It's real big. Go ahead. You're going to say something.
Yeah, well, I guess you did know that they did their disqualified red heifer trial run.
And that was supposedly the research that I did on that is the reason why they did it, supposedly, was to simply find out how long would the process take for it to be from the time they start the fire to the time the ashes are ready at the end of the sacrifice. They say it's not a sacrifice, but the consummation of it all taking place. How long does it take? That was the whole purpose of that test. Wrong or right, I don't know, but that's what I've been reading. So, but yeah, it happened. That was just a couple weeks ago.
So what else has been intriguing you from a biblical before we can get into? And I try to always tie in. I don't like to do newspaper eschatology.
Yeah.
Because again, like you said, it's been wrong since the 70s when everybody's like, "Oh, this is it," and then Hal Lindsey got everybody excited about getting raptured in 1981 because the nation state of Israel's been gathered back to the land. Well, only Judah was, but
right.
But
yeah, well, I think for me, those elements regarding Israel, the modern state of Israel, voting that they have the legal right to the West Bank, which is what Samaria is, Judea and Samaria. That's all the West Bank. And for what it's worth, those who know, it's really the East Bank, not the West Bank. Okay. Okay. So, because I find myself saying the politically correct terms, but we all know it's the East Bank. Okay. It's because it's east of Jerusalem. It's they title it the West Bank because why? It's west of Jordan. Jordan has possession of it. That's why they said that.
I'm
And
always
then
amused.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I say I'm always amused, Steve, when everybody, especially our Christian Zionist dispensational friends, talk about the division of the land, the division of the land. I'm like, guys, back in 1920, France and Britain took crayons and divided up the land. And oh, by the way, in modern day Jordan, there's this place called Gilead. That's ancient Israel.
Right.
There was the tribe of Manasseh and Gad and Reuben. The land was already divided over 100 years ago by Britain and France. After that, to the winner go the spoils. They took the Ottoman Empire and they created these modern nation states. And they're like, yeah, we'll do this. And then
Yep.
Jordan, So
You're
I
right.
do agree with them that there is already a Palestinian/Arab state. It's called the modern nation state of Jordan. But again, this was Yah let all this happen. Okay, all this
Mm-hmm.
was orchestrated by him. World War I, he let their little kings play their games, and we saw the
Mm-hmm.
Ottoman Empire. Judah, World War II happened. Judah was gathered back in unbelief. What's your thoughts on some of these, and I'm going to air quote, teachers that are trying to say that Zechariah 12 will be fulfilled after the millennium? Yeah.
Oh, that's a new one to
They're
me.
so that we gets into that. They're so anti-Judah that they'll read
But
Zechariah 12. They'll read Zechariah 12 and they'll say that, oh, that's after the millennium. That's the Gog make. And I'm like, this makes no sense. You. Are this.
well, it goes against Hosea. The Battle of Armageddon is the last war. Period. There's no longer training for war after that. All weapons are done away with after that. Even when the enemy, I'm talking Satan himself, and he's loosed for the short season, and it says he gathers all these nations around Jerusalem. There's no war. It says fire
No,
comes down and destroys them. Why? Because the prophecy is there will be no more war. So
it's
for them to say that that war is after the millennium does not make any sense whatsoever.
it's and this guy's usually pretty solid, but I think it's almost anti-Jew. In other words, everybody over there is a fake Jew, and
Oh, come
you
on.
don't teach that. I don't teach that. I don't say
No,
that.
no.
But
I'm
it's
not
it's
saying every one of them over there is Jewish, but I'm definitely not. That's not to say they're all fake. Oh my gosh, that is so wrong.
well, but
Um,
I do believe that's part of prophecy. What we were talking about earlier, that this sure enough hatred toward Jews,
yeah.
they're going to just for being Jewish is
Mm-hmm.
going to only exponentially increase almost weekly, monthly, yearly,
Mm-hmm.
based on the geopolitical situation, which we know again, it's Yah up there letting all the head puppets down here on earth operate according to his will and his plan to
Right.
effectuate.
Right. Yep. Yep. You know, the sad part is, well, that's sad in itself. Don't get me wrong. Forgive me. But that's going to penetrate over into the Christians who follow Torah just the same, and people aren't seeing that. And it saddens me when I have my brothers and sisters in the faith who don't follow the Torah, and the grand majority of the ones that I encounter, it's simply the light's not flicked, tripped over on for them yet. I haven't truly met people who are just sternly rebelling. It's simply a misunderstanding, trusting what they've been trained up in more than trusting in the scriptures that I can say thus far. But for them, they don't understand what the scriptures say in Revelation, that the enemy pursues those who do what? Hold to the testimony of Yeshua and keep the commands of Yahweh. There's a twofold element, so why? And I'm praying that their eyes are opened, for everyone to understand that that time is coming. In fact, we may have discussed this before, but this ICE thing, that's going on, about the illegal immigration and stuff. Man, Scott, I am convinced with all my heart. I can be wrong. Don't get me wrong. But this is all prep for what's going to happen for Christians when it all comes down. This is a trial run with the immigration element, because the time is coming when being a Christian and holding to the testimony of Yeshua and the commandments is going to be illegal. This Noahide law stuff, it's going to be legit. I got that teaching on it. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But I'm telling you, it's coming, and it's coming to America much sooner than people want to admit.
And again, we're in a minority here, but I believe you might have a similar potential understanding as far as that 10-headed beast and those 10 tribes probably is not coincidental. And that 2-headed beast in 2 tribes of Judah, I can see how there's going to be some kind of merger of the harlot religions, the 2 sister religions, into one, in which they sort of coexist. But it's again, I don't know how it all plays out, but I can see how, someone like you and I, we could be persecuted by Christians or by, like you talked about, the Noahide laws, however they're enforced, and say, you're not Jewish. You can't keep the Shabbat.
Right.
You're not to follow the Torah. You're committing blasphemy by doing this. And then and then if Judah, if the anti-Messiah does set the system up and says you must worship me, and they use the Noahide laws, well, you're worshiping the false Messiah. In other words, you're worshiping Yeshua. That's right. Idolatry, off with your head. So again, we're talking about end times Noahide laws, not the way they exist today, which they're not on the books. It's just an executive order.
Well, but they are on the books for some places. They're just not being acted upon. That's the thing. And the time will come, because it's already in place, they just flip the switch. That's the concern that I have. And at that time, I believe that if my current theory is correct, that being that, because if you look, again, I mentioned this in the last 2 teachings about the 5th day of the 6th month. There's a reason why, it's given to us in Ezekiel 8 and 9, that's when the devastation comes. And it says it lasts for 40 days, and that's in Ezekiel 4, okay? Right before Sukkot, And in fact, I was reading just today as in the scriptures, and there's a certain date that popped out. I'm going, oh my gosh, that's right before this and this. Dots were connecting for me. I started getting excited about it. But, I'm looking at how I can really see this year being legit. I know you differ with me on that, and that's cool. And to be honest with you, listen to me, I would be so happy to be wrong. I have got so much to do. I feel like I'm running behind on stuff I got to get done for the Father. There's so many teachings I want to get out, and I feel like I'm failed on multiple times. I go, man, I got to get this. I got to get this done. And everyone's got an obligation that they feel called to, and that's mine, is to prep the people of Yahweh. Look, even if it's not a teaching that's going to wow them, that's not my job. My job is to make sure I give what he tells me to give. And a lot of times we have this new series, well, it's not new anymore, forgive me, but Come Let Us Reason series. And I get it. A lot of them are basic teachings to reach your everyday Christian, if you will. But my prayer is that are those who are seasoned in this in the Torah walk or growing in it, that they'll watch those and that'll encourage them and give them the, oh, he said that. I should say this for me when I try to reach my cousin, my uncle, my brother.
Yeah, you've had the experience, and so you're kind of training up maybe the Torah toddler, the Torah elementary school child, because when you come to this, you go back to the womb. You're not you're barely an infant because you have so much unlearning to do, and it's weird. It's really about resting on Shabbat, his Moedim, and not eating a bunch of abominations. I mean, but it's still a serious, it's a total mind shift away from religion to truth.
Yeah. Well, and at the same time, I know how many times I have had to be reminded of it's this simple. We don't have to dig into Galatians and dig onto this. We can simplify things in so many ways and like make it easy for all of us. And that's my prayer. But I feel like I've digressed. Forgive me. The
That's
point
okay.
is, times are getting weird, and I feel it's much closer than what we even want to acknowledge. Again, this is what I'm saying. Back to our thing. I will have no problem, Scott, saying, "Man, I was so wrong. You're right on this, brother. I'm so glad you were right." I'm serious on timing because I know you feel we have couple of years lleft, possibly,
I
and
think we've got at least 4-ish years, a little bit more, because again, I do believe I take the 1260, the 1290 literally. I could be incorrect in that understanding. So I still look at that 42-month period. And again, I can say, I hope you are correct. I actually, and I've told Doug Hamp, who I did a roundtable with, and other prophecy geeks that I've hosted. I said, guys, I hope you're right about this 7-year covenant, and that gives people 3.5 more years to repent. I said, I know you're
right.
right about the 2 witnesses coming on the scene because that's the 6th woe. Okay, so I know I can dogmatically state that the 2 witnesses are not testifying during the first 3.5 years as part of this 7-year, and I'm air quoting, tribulation period,
I
because
know
it's become gospel truth, but it's
it
just
has.
it's a man-made doctrine out of dispensationalism that can trace its roots all the way back to the Counter-Reformation. And
Well,
so,
it's in my opinion completely misunderstanding Daniel 9.
yeah,
But bottom line, if we are nearing the times like I think we are, it's going to be hitting the fan real soon. Just looking at going back to the argument now, why should someone seriously consider now because it's been declared for how all these decades, and here we are still today. Let's count some reasons of why. Okay, one, check this out. You can go to timeanddate.com and they got all these different things. You can look up lots of cool things, which I'm very thankful for. Well, I went to timeanddate.com, put in October 7th, which is when all this catastrophe started with Israel. Okay. And it was bad. And I can give you my opinions on this and that, and everyone can too. Doesn't matter. Bottom line is what we're seeing over there right now, officially, in my books anyway, really triggered and kicked off on that day, October 7th. Okay. Well, if you go in and just put in for fun, forgive me, but 666 days since October 7th, guess what it lands on? Just for fun, not saying it means anything, October 3rd, or I'm sorry, August 3rd, which happens to be the 9th of Av. Okay. The 9th and 10th of Av are the 2 dates I'm watching right now. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. But those who know me know that I'm all about watching the calendar every year, not just this year or next year. I've watched the same days over and over and over because they're watch days for me.
mm-hmm.
But when I look at different things that's been said, what we're watching, let's just hit pause on everything and mention one reason why now is to be watched more than any other decade, year in the last century. Go ahead.
I'm going to give the positive one.
Oh, okay.
Hundreds of thousands of people and millions of people are actually pre-fulfilling Deuteronomy 4 and Deuteronomy 30. In other words, millions of people are casting off the vain man-made traditions.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them did the flying fox over into Messianic Judaism and are now all of a sudden, wait a minute, all I'm doing is rolling around with the other sister.
Yeah.
This is no better than the Christian boob. Might as well take it off, the Jewish breast now. And so you're seeing this happening majorly even in the past year or two.
Yeah.
It's still somewhat lonely. Ever since I left my fellowship, it's a little bit lonely when you don't want to practice Christianity and Christmas and Easter, and you don't want to practice Judaism and Hanukkah and Seder plates.
Right.
You're on a lonely path. The people in your area are blessed in that there's a fellowship, a congregation where they can attend in person, in which you don't have, the blatant idolatry in the worship place. It's so
No, I'm
I
with you.
believe that right there, what's happening. And I do believe Yah has used Messianic Judaism for the Jews to have placed their faith in Yeshua. But there are even Jews that are now going, wait a minute, why am I practicing this religion?
Right.
Why it's as much of an oxymoron as a Gentile Christian. Both Messianic Judaism and Gentile Christianity are both oxymorons.
Well,
Yeshua did
but to
not
your point,
practice Judaism.
but to your point, it is a fulfillment of prophecy when you look at what Moses wrote about, how in the end times you will return to these, and here we are, over and over, more and more people. Matter of fact, there's a brother in Central Arkansas recently been talking to me, and he was saying how he's having people coming out of the woodworks from churches all around coming to him saying, what are you doing? I want to learn this. I want to grow. He's got literally a fellowship growing from grassroots, people just leaving the church, nothing else, and wanting to study the Bible and do the Bible, and that's it. And it's not like, because you got a lot of areas that are growing and I say this, it's like, Torah peak areas growing. It's people moving to those areas who are already Torah. Well, he's got people simply not moving to the area, but that whole area is growing in the Torah by leaving the church, period. That's it. And how cool is that? So it goes to your point. It's a definitely positive point.
Well, and like, for instance, I had a live stream with Mike Edwards. He's a former Ranger Recon Special Ops Elite Unit guy. And he was struggling after he got out of the military with drinking and just everything like that, and just started reading his Bible, why he was drinking, and he says, well, I need to go to church. So he goes to church, and he's like, nothing they're saying in here is lining up with what I'm reading. So then he goes to the Messianic. He goes, oh, this is awesome. But it took him only about 3 or 4 weeks to go, why are we practicing Judaism? So he just started out having Shabbat at his home with his family and his daughter. But now there's a fellowship forming. And this is it. This is down in Brantley, Alabama. I mean, that is in Southeast Buda, Alabama. There's nothing near Brantley, Alabama. So I'm looking forward to meeting him personally. We're going to do a speak. Anybody near Auburn, and we're going to do a tailgate Shabbat at Auburn on September 6th. It's a night game. We're not going to go in until 30 minutes after kickoff, so we're not going to be doing anything until post-Shabbat, but we're going to have a gathering at Shabbat in Auburn and just get together and maybe even make up some signs. And I've got my orange and blue zeets and everything. And so use that as like a ministry opportunity,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very I see cool. You're supposed to gather on Shabbat, have some food, talk some Bible. Who says you can't do it at Auburn? So.
Right. There you go. Well, for me, at the negative side of why right now, and I have a list. There's so many.
Yeah, what's your list? Because I've got a list.
Oh my gosh. Just today, I'm just, okay, enough. AI is to the point, and we talked a little bit this the last time. Brother, AI is on an exponential scale beyond reason. What was considered high tech on AI a month ago, that's old school already. I mean, I don't think people understand what exponential means. It's like it's growing up and up and up and up, and then it's just keep going up. It's crazy. We've gotten past what it's called basic AI. Basically, it's basically where it's task specific, task oriented. That's it. AI is now already at they call it general AI. General AI over the last weeks has been growing beyond understanding. And they're scared that it's now becoming what they call super AI. It's like where it's beyond human intelligence. And we're like, I don't know how you can say it because of on the exponential scale, but we are literally days, weeks, months away from super AI just taking over. It's insane, Scott. That it didn't take long. And my little bunny trail, if you want to call it that, I'm going, oh my gosh, this is beyond reason.
This is not, unlike the little season, Steve. This is not a vortex conspiracy. This is just happening in reality in real time.
Yes. And I don't think people are grasping because they're not seeing it in front of you all the time. You hear about it. You see some cool videos on, those videos you see on YouTube right now, those are old already. Okay. And oh my gosh. I mean, it's just, I don't know what to tell you, bro. But
well, I can tell you it certainly writes some good things. I've noticed people putting some very cogent thoughts together on social media posts and things like that. They're well laid out and they're scripturally sound. Mm-hmm. But I've had a few people reply back to me, like regurgitate the same things about the house of Israel and Judah and everything. And then I see their, sort of a little more polished, but all they did is plugged it into AI and spit me back an answer. They're using AI even about the Bible. They're using AI to formulate their answers, and I think that's very, very dangerous.
It's funny you say that because I have two good friends on the exact opposite of the spectrum of this AI element and what you just presented. One of them has been making Bible teachings through AI. And another one told me, he goes, I won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. He goes, that's like you're messing with the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Why are we going to that and not trusting the Spirit to give us the teachings? And I go, ooh, that's pretty good, And so
what I've used it for? I've used it for things like that I really didn't want to research, but I asked it, are the Sabbath prayers commanded in Rabbinic Judaism? Answer, yes. Is Hanukkah commanded in Orthodox Judaism? Yes. Is the Hanukkah prayer, And so that's what I was using it for, not to actually learn anything from Scripture, but to learn about a religion. And I now just call them Jewish commandments. I'm not going to, tradition just sounds like it's too fuzzy-feely. We just do some tradition. No, Jewish law, Jewish dogma, Jewish commandments that Jews are required to do. There's a huge difference between a tradition, the way we understand it in the English vernacular, versus what Judaism requires of its adherents and its followers.
But don't forget the same element, as you mentioned earlier, the Christian church has the exact same thing on the other side.
I need to get my Christian harlot beating stick out too, because I like to be fair. I like to be fair to both sisters.
Well, and the focus is to stay on the center road, and I think the more we do that, the persecution is going to be coming, and, there are so many things happening in the world. And I've heard about these Epstein files, whatever.
Epstein files and
Epstein's. I'm just, how you say it is my question there.
Epstein.
Yeah. Okay. So, I've heard it, seen different things about it. I don't pay attention to it, but it has been so engrossed in the news. And with what I was watching today and looking at things, I'm going, this is not right. What else is going on? Because I'm a firm believer, wrong or right, okay, that whenever the mainstream media is just taking a topic and ramming it to the ground, something else is happening, and they're using this as a distraction to keep you away from it.
I'm telling you, the laws that were just passed in America related to cryptocurrency and blockchain and stablecoin, and that's what was happening while the Epstein thing. And again, Whitney Webb is a true investigative reporter. Who knows? I mean, you don't know what's information, disinformation. You don't know if she's a reverse psyop or not. But essentially, the conclusion I've come to, not knowing, is that Epstein was no doubt a controlled agent, probably by a 3-letter agency and maybe by a little nation state across the pond that starts with an M, and it's one nation under blackmail. And it's like sort of like mutually assured destruction. And that's probably why this information may never see the light of day, because then they lose their blackmail. Then they lose the control. So you can't release it, and maybe Abaddon or DJT, maybe he's in those files. I mean, I don't care, to be honest with you. I'm just watching the Trojan horse that slipped in. Fool my conservative friends who still think this is just all wonderful, what's happening with ICE. And to your point earlier, the ground being set with things for these camps and these concentration centers, and what what Obama had already put back in place, in 2014. And so I'm just seeing everything mushrooming. And to your point, my number one biblical reason why I think we're in near time is it's almost been 2 days. It's almost been 2,000 years. And again, if your theory is correct, I never, 27-ish AD was the earliest. My research scholar, years ago when I gave up trying to prove a date, I mean, I literally gave up and said, 26-ish to 36-ish. Those are the outliers. 28 to 33 had the most evidence. And Messiah 2030 makes a case for, a 5 BC birth. So again, I'm just very wiggly. And if you're correct, if your understanding is correct, it could be 2 days could be up in 2027.
Exactly. Because if capital I, capital F, okay, 2027, as you mentioned, that would be the time of my understanding when the millennium would begin, because this would be, if things would start off this coming fall, starting even as soon as the 9th day of the 5th month, or 5th day of the 9th, forgive me. No, 9th, 5th. Then things would continue through 2026 and wrap up with the end of the second Exodus in 2027.
And you're looking at it from a literal 70 weeks, sort of a,
yes.
I don't want to say a new understanding, but definitely not mainstream.
Definitely not mainstream. I'm sure someone else has got the view out there. When I was looking into, I had seen anybody else who presented it, and I'm sure there's someone else who has. So that's not the issue. But yeah, it's definitely not mainstream. And and I do believe, though, with what that being said, as I mentioned in one of the teachings a couple of weeks ago, regarding, I believe there's multiple views that could be correct regarding the 70 weeks. It could be 70 Shavuots. It could be 70, Jubilees, all being true. But it's like when it comes to the literal translation, it's just the same. They all overlap and overlay in perfect harmony. I really believe there's a legitimacy to that.
There's a guy out there by the name of Christian Widener who is, to your point about 2027, that he is basing it from the decree where King or Sultan Solomon or whatever rebuilt the walls of Jerusalem and everything back about 400, and now it's been 488-ish years ago.
Okay.
So he's even, and Christian's a smart guy. He's an engineer that retired, and he's just devoting himself full time to prophecy. I've had many. He hasn't seen that he's Israel yet, and so therefore he hasn't seen that Jesus meant what he said. Yeshua meant what he said in Matthew 5. That includes the 4th commandment. So, but a really, really good guy, nice man, intelligent man. But he's got an understanding. Another friend of mine, he looks at it like he does a 49-year Jubilee cycle, but it's weird. All these different theories, whether it be just my simple 6 + 1 = 7, Yeshua came at the end of the 4th day. He returned to this place for 2 days. He's going to raise us up after 2 days. The Hosea 6, 1 and 2. It's just, that's the simplest one I've ever heard. 6 + 1 is 7. But all of these different theories are all within 2, 3, 4, or 5-ish years of one another.
Yeah.
That's again, I don't believe in coincidences. So especially when you start looking at biblical patterns, and it could be that it's not that this individual doing the Jubilee count is wrong. They just aren't looking at the other possibilities that could all be true. with a
Right.
Hebraic understanding.
Correct. On layers. Agreed. Hey, do you know, I was, again, when I was researching today, a guy by the name of Stephen Miller in the uh, Donald Trump's
Oh,
cabinet type stuff.
his goebbels or Himmler. I call him Little Himmler.
Okay, I don't know anything about it. I just
Oh,
know he made a statement supposedly that he wishes that the American population was 100 million or less. Have you heard that?
I haven't heard that, but that guy, he seems like he has the heart of a wolf, a ravenous wolf. Like he has no feelings or carings for, you know.
Really?
I mean,
Just he,
again, that's my impression. I don't know him. I don't walk with him.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
talking
No,
about
I'm with you.
from
Well,
his
I
public
just,
interviews.
yeah. Again, I don't watch news. I don't watch TV. I was like, this is not my thing. But when I was studying today and just kind of looking at what's going on in the world, he came up on one of them, and supposedly, and I looked for his quote. I couldn't find it, but people are screaming all over that he said this. And I'm going, okay, well, I'm not saying he didn't, but I can't prove it that he did. But
Let me go
okay,
ahead.
well, what if it's true that he said this? What triggered me on it was the 100 million thing in America, because back in 2017, I don't know if we've talked about this or not, a report came out called the Deagle Report,
Heard of
and
that
it
one.
was all about the population all around the world for each country. And the United States population, and this was forecasted in 2017. I mean, there may have been previous years also, but the report that I saw was 2017. I've actually got it. I downloaded it, and it went from 2017. It was like, for the U.S., mind you, it was like 300 and I think 15 million. Okay, well, the population in 2025 was like 98 million. Dude, we just lost a third of our population. You
Two
know,
thirds.
I'm sorry. Yes, 2/3. We only had a third left. Forgive me. And so, now I'm going, and now you've got a public figure in under Donald J. Trump saying that's what he wishes it was. I'm going, wait a minute. What? And so again, I'm not saying he said that, but that was what I tried to confirm it and I couldn't find the confirmation. Not saying he didn't, but if
Oh,
he did, that concerns me because this is now pointing to a report I read back in 2017 that I mocked at. And now all of a sudden I'm seeing, oh my. And for what it's worth, I went through and was looking at all the NATO nations. It was mostly, if I'm not mistaken, all of the NATO nations on that report was what the population went down, massively. And other nations, they went up, but the
here's
NATO
another
nations went down.
Here's another one about 2025. If you've ever looked into and went down this research trail about Alice Bailey, Lucifer Trust, the publishing company for the United Nations, Lucius Trust now. They changed it to Lucius Trust, but no, 2025 is the golden age. That's what Trump's been talking about all this time. It's the ascended masters will make their appearance in 2025. That this is the entry into the age of Aquarius, the golden dawn. You're hearing, and again, and you start looking into just look at Trump. I mean, he's got the Saturn cube on top of his tower. He's got Trump Tower has the 666 trees with an upside down pyramid. I mean, his and again, I'm not saying Trump is the Antichrist. Please don't.
No, I'm with you. Right.
But his apartment is essentially in Trump Tower. His penthouse is essentially a shrine to the god Apollo. I mean, so again, nothing better than someone like for him to be used, to get the conservatives on board as he's implementing, Palantir. I mean, Elon Musk, I believe Elon Musk was brought in with just to implement AI, just to get it infected inside the government so that AI would, we'll reduce government. You'll be governed by AI. It's like nobody has watched Terminator, Steve. I mean,
right. I'm telling you. Sheesh. It's so funny because I never watched the Terminator, to tell you the truth. It was the one that was PG-13 that I just said, okay, I'll watch this one. And it showed all these different things. I'm going, as I'm watching it, my jaw was hitting the floor. I'm going, are you kidding me?
This is back in the 80s when it was science fiction.
Yeah. I'm going, oh my gosh. back to your point about
Or War
2025.
Games, the old movie War Games.
Yeah, and
You
I
know?
saw that one too. Yeah. Um, have you heard of a thing called Project 2025?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's the that was the platform for the Heritage Foundation, essentially to make us into a theocracy. And I don't think the SDAs are all cray cray. By the way, you know
Oh
they
no.
believe.
Well, it's so funny. Forgive me, it's not funny. Okay. But
Sad but funny.
well, it's like all of these things that they're implementing. You can see how that's the platform they're presenting is, oh, this is a good thing. But they aren't looking at the alternative of what it can turn into once you take these, safeguards away. Just like we've discussed the last time, the habeas corpus, they're trying to do away with it. OM goodness. If they do that and then they make being a Christian against the law, guess what? You have no rights. You can say all you want. They'll take you, put you in prison, and you have no rights. Period.
And it's
So it's like,
interesting
go
the
ahead.
way this plays out. I'm wondering how much they would actually make Christianity illegal though, versus
I
the true faith walked out by Yeshua,
right.
walked out by the disciples,
Well, that's the faith that's going to be
those who have
persecuted.
the testimony and keep the commandments. In other
Right.
words, you're not allowed to criticize Romanized Christianity, and you're not allowed to necessarily criticize. You're allowed to be one end or again. I'm just spitballing right now.
No. Well, and it needs to be understood. This is not about fear mongering. This is not about anything of that. This is about waking up and smelling the coffee. And
Repent.
because, like I said, yeah, well, like I said, I knew some of this stuff was going on, but it wasn't until today I'm looking at stuff. I'm going, oh, gracious me, it's all happening so fast.
Hey,
And
let me plug something for you and for if you want to leave this in. My friend, who used to be on the prophecy roundtable, he's a retired lawyer now, so he's got all this time on his hands. He puts together a great prophecy update every Sunday where he goes over a lot of these things about technocracy and AI and what's going on in Syria and what's going on in Iran. He's got many connections, and they're usually an hour and a half long, but that's where I get a lot of my information because John
okay,
will pour over the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or the Washington Post. He'll read articles in the Jerusalem Post or he'll read the Tehran Times, and he'll Google translate it. And then he'll condense, and I talked to him, he said, Scott, I could have literally talked for 24 hours about
right.
what happened just this past week.
Okay, what is this? Because you
His
just said
name
his
is
name.
John Haller, Haller. It's Fellowship Bible Channel. Now, John and I would theologically not see eye to eye. He doesn't understand yet that he's Israel.
Well,
I
I
don't.
disagree with a ton of people and stuff. It doesn't mean
Yeah,
that they're not,
he
looking
is,
at
but
things.
he's a solid brother. He's no doubt, covered by the blood of Yeshua, and he was on the show with Doug and I for like 2 or 3 years, and he would just stay quiet when we were start talking about the house of Israel, and that's representative of Christianity, and so
Hmm.
he's heard it all. You can see him processing because he's an extremely intelligent man, and I mean I love him to death. But it's a good source for your biblical kind of news through a biblical lens. I'll
There
put
you
it that
go. That sounds good. Well, brother, we've been talking for a solid hour here. I don't know how much we want to go, but
That's up to
uh,
you.
well, here's the thing to start wrapping it up. I'm very concerned. Back to the Temple Institute. I know their intentions are nothing but good on their end. There's nothing evil as far as mischievously evil, wanting to do wrong. As far as they're concerned, they're doing the will of Yahweh. They're doing what needs to happen. They'll say Hashem, of course, but it's all positive, moving forward in their eyes. So it's when I talk about this, this is not like discriminating or incriminating. Forgive me. It's simply my concerns of them not seeing what's happening, it's all falling into place with biblical prophecy by way of Isaiah 66, so many more. But if this time that we're seeing leads up to the third temple, Ark of the Covenant coming out, sacrifices getting started, I can tell you now, brother, as And I think you would agree with me then. We don't got that 3.5 years, 4 years. I think things are going to be kicking in high gear unless you believe it's going to be throughout it all for the whole 3.5 years. Then
I
yes.
I hope you're right, but I literally think again, I used to be so anti-Zapture, but now I do see a man child who is the rod of iron that's going to get harpazoed up to the throne.
But I think that, and I really am a firm believer that that's going to be not Yom Kippur, but Shavuot. I really do.
That and my friend Curtis Reed, he believes that the sealing, and we could be talking about the same thing: the sealing of the 144,000, the harpazo of the man child before the woman flees to the wilderness and is protected. That Shavuot makes the most sense to me for that event to happen. So,
and we'll find out. And I believe in the second Exodus. But these are separate elements. It's because when I talk to people about the second Exodus, it seems to me those who are, how do I say it, like this massive proponents of it, it seems they completely leave out the element of the resurrection. Well, Yeshua talks about the resurrection. The prophets talk about the resurrection over and over again.
The last day.
Yeah.
Yeshua,
So
John 6, on the last day.
We can't, which could also be the last day of the counting to Shavuot, i.e.
1,000 years.
Well, there's so many things that can go into it. I guess to wrap it up is like, let's just keep our hearts and eyes open. Don't be, thinking it's got to be this, and this, because if we put ourselves into a position, well, it's got to be this and everyone else is wrong. Watch yourself. You could be walking into a self-deception. When things happen, then you're so ingrained like that can't be it because I'm right. Then you might miss what is really right because you were wrong. I believe we've all got to be so limber in what's coming and what's watching, and be willing to say, hey, maybe this guy is right over here and this guy's right on that. We've got to have that attitude. Go ahead. You're just going to say something.
No, I was going to piggyback on that as far as you have actually a teaching on this, and the religious scholars of the day missed Yeshua's first coming. Wouldn't it be like the enemy and the adversary and just the way our minds work to be locked in on a certain way? And right now, the majority of people that pay attention to prophecy, preterism is making a huge push right now, which the next hero to show up, they might fall and think that is the Messiah. If you're a preterist, the next person to show up is the Messiah, and it's not going to be Yeshua. And so
it depends on what flavor of preterism, because I've talked to some preterism people, and they don't hold exactly what you're saying. But I'm with you.
Nonsense. This little season nonsense.
Yeah, I have that teaching out there on that already too. But but back to your point though, I want to jump in with you. If you look at the whole deception thing with the snake, as you brought out, what is this year? This is the year of the snake. Did you know that? 2025.
It's also the dawning of the age of Aquarius, the golden age.
It's so funny because when in prepping for today, this right here, I go, well, what year is this? Is 2025. So I just started, what is 2025? Oh, it's the year of the snake. I'm going, wait a minute, what? That's so if you go the year of the snake, that means what? The year of deception. Yeah, because that's what the snake did. And what did the snake do? Everyone says the snake lied to Eve. No, he didn't. He said the truth. You know why? Check this out. I brought this out in a teaching not too long ago at a youth camp. Eve said to the serpent, we can't eat of the tree. We can't even touch of it, or we'll surely die. So now here's she added, exactly. And he said, you won't die. Okay, he was right. If you touch the tree, you won't die. Okay, now if you eat from it, yes. But what he said was not fully wrong, because if she touches it, she wouldn't die. So now all of a sudden, he planted the seed of doubting the Father's word. The second she touched it, did she die? No. Why? Because the Father didn't say she would die that way. So therefore, now she has reason to question. So now what's going on in the world? Everyone's believing these things that man has said, not what Yahweh has said. And so now when things don't go the way they think, now they're opening themselves up for deception. Man, I'm
That
telling
was
you.
my next point about those that are diehard in dispensationalism, Christian Zionists, that they're all happy about the temple, but they're going to start
Yeah,
freaking out when if and when these sacrifices actually start, and there starts to be some tribulation. They're ripe for deception, Steve, because it's not going per script. I mean,
I
I could
know.
even see
But
I
it
could
will
see
go per
some
script.
taking the mark, going, "This can't be the mark. I'm still here."
Right. Well, and the thing is, whenever, and I bring this out in the Assyrian teaching, and I forget what other ones, but it's like when the sacrifices start, oh, then they're looking for what the Antichrist. What's the Antichrist do? Well, he takes away the sacrifices. Here comes Islam coming in during that 40-day invasion. They stop it all, and they're going to think that's the one. That's the Antichrist, and it's not. And then all of a sudden, here comes the true Antichrist to save the day, and they're going to follow him. Man, it's deception. And when I saw how 2025 is the year of the snake, I'm going, oh my gosh, it's the year of deception. I could
I
see
have
it all
not written
beginning.
off things getting biblical yet. Okay, like
Right, right.
starting now
And
again.
I'm not saying it's going to. Please don't take it. But I'm watching, brother, and I watch that every year. So those my
Right.
friends who know me laugh at me with that. So that's just the way it is.
Well, and again, maybe some of this. I've got a friend who it aligns perfectly between uh, this year Yom Teruah
Mm-hmm.
and in 2025, and the last great day or Sukkot in 2032. It's exactly 2,520 days.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and it might work out the same way on your on the conjunction calendar.
I'd have to look at it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So, but
But
and
here's the
he's not.
thing. Go ahead,
Go
go ahead,
ahead.
go ahead.
He's not basic. He's not basing it off Hillel. He's basing it off the moon cycles. In other words, what we
Oh,
know currently is the moon
then
cycles.
then mine might do the same thing that I have to look into. I'll check it out. But I just found it interesting that, I don't know what happened to make me go this direction, but there's something I read in all the articles I was looking at today regarding this all. But with Yom Teruah, Day of Trumpets, okay, and how there was something that triggered me thinking, oh my gosh, this could be the turnaround in the invasion that leads them to win the battle right before Sukkot, the last 2 weeks of it. Because from the 5th day of the 6th month to the day before Sukkot is exactly 40 days, okay? And so, with that in mind, that lines up as far as being the 40 days that Ezekiel talks about in chapter 4. And so, and in chapter 8 also.
And in
So,
your theory, you have maybe the West, the king of the North, potentially coming against Islam or the eastern leg of the Roman Empire to save the day.
I'd have to look into. There's lots of speculation when it gets to that, and I'm very open to different opinions on how that's all going to play out. Seriously, because I've seen so many different views on a lot of those things. I'll read one or watch one. I go, oh, I like that one, and then I'll look at the other and the opposes. I go, oh, I like that too. So there's some things I try to be fluid as possible because, in fact, I won't make a teaching on something unless I feel I can defend it. And if there's something out there that's beyond me, I just say, well, I don't know. I'm going to watch and pray and see what happens. And I have
And
several
my
things
view
that
on
I
it
like that.
is Islam is essentially the eastern leg of the Roman Empire. In other words,
Mm,
in the statue representation down
right.
you have the two iron legs, and Rome split into east and west, and now what used to be, Eastern Rome is now Islam,
Oh,
and
I
then
got you. Yeah, yeah. Right.
yeah, sort of like, in other words, I don't view. Some people take a view that, no, like Joel Richardson and others, they take a view that the fourth beast is or the fourth kingdom is Islam. So
Right.
they skip over Persia or Greece or Rome. Obviously,
And I
got to skip.
respect Joel. Remember that because Joel and I are good friends. We go back a long. I used to be his editor a long time ago. So
Okay.
I think the world of Joel. We differ on this, but that's like all of us. We're going to differ on things, and we don't have to agree on
What would be a
everything.
good, what I think would be a good discussion, maybe if Joel had someone that's similar to us, because again, I don't have a problem getting on with people that have different opinions. Now,
Oh yeah.
there's certain individuals. I learned my lesson with Rico, that I believe so adamantly that what he's teaching is dangerous, that we have to follow a Sanhedrin, that
Yeah.
I can't stay calm. I'm like, because no, it's dangerous.
No, I know.
It's
I'm with you. I
very,
agree.
very dangerous. And I just
That's
think
following man.
but with someone like Joel, maybe reach out to him and go, hey man, I know this redneck lawyer down in Alabama. He likes to do chats. Maybe you could find a friend and we could have a discussion about Islam and how Islam may factor into this end times equation. But we better set it up quick.
Right. Things could be getting serious real quick. I agree.
So,
well, brother, it's been fun talking, man.
Oh, this is what we do on the phone. We just did a live stream.
Amen. Amen.
All right. All right. I'm in the broadcast, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and y'all have a blessed rest of your week.
Shalom.
Shalom.